Hey, sixth graders! We are on lesson 1.4, so let's go ahead and get started. We are going to be looking at how we can make models, physical models, of how rocks form. So, we've already seen pictures of some rocks that look like this, and I just want you to start thinking about how long do you think it takes for each of these layers to form, right? We can see very distinct layers in these rocks, and how long do you think it takes for each of them to form? As we know, and we learned in our last lesson, the time scale for a rock to form, so how long it takes a rock to form, takes so long. And it can take millions of years, which is why we have models, because we really could not watch and observe this process in our real everyday lives. So we're going to be using a physical model. Unlike this model that you used in the last lesson, you used the simulation, you used the melt feature and the weather feature to form two types of new rock. You created a rock at a volcano surface, and you created some rock down in the ocean down here, and then it buried under the water. So we're going to use candy today to for our physical model. So we're going to see how pieces of candy can model sediment. So how can we weather our rocks and create sediment and then observe the process of how rocks form. Remember that sedimentary rock is just small pieces of rock. So this is our model sediment, this is our real sediment, and I just want you to think about how does the crushed candy compare to actual sediment. You are going to need some candy, 2 cups, and a marker for this activity. So you're going to model sediment, and you are going to model weathering, and then you are going to follow the directions on the next slide. So you're going to put all of your sediment into 1 cup, and then you're going to place another cup on top of it. After you do that, you should just lift it up and notice if there has been anything that has changed or not changed. And then we are going to take some time and some pressure, and we're going to put the candy under heavy books for a couple days while we'll move on to the next lesson. And then we're going to come back and look at these rocks in just a little bit. So I just want you to think about how are the modeling of formation of new rock of sediment, how are we modeling it? And remember, sedimentary rock is a rock type that is formed when sediment, so a bunch of little pieces, is pressed and glued together over time. Sedimentary rocks take thousands or millions of years to be formed, so that the process takes a long time. And when we look at this, we're obviously not going to take millions of years, so we will, I'm just curious about what you expect to happen over the course of 4 to 5 days while your rock is sitting there. And here are some images of loose sediment, and here are some images of sedimentary rock. So when loose sediment goes through compaction and cementation, the result is a sedimentary rock. And so here, let's look a little bit closer. Image 1, we can see loose sediment. Image number 2, these grains are being pressed together, they're being compacted. And image number 3, they're being pressed together and compacted. The sediment is buried under the ground, and the top of the ground, the stuff that's on top of it, is putting pressure on it, which is compacting it. And then in our third image, the minerals are deposited by water, and that's what's acting and binds them together, so they're cemented together with those minerals that they get. Compaction is the process of sediment being buried and pressed together, and cementation is the process of sediment being glued together. Not with real glue, it's just glue is what we're talking about, how they're being put together through the process, but nobody's taking glue and pouring it in the ground. So in our candy model, the sediment begins to compact over time, so we're going to put pressure on it, and it's going to go through compaction and cementation, and you're going to be able to observe this as it sits in the classroom. And remember that the model isn't going to show how the minerals or the cement works with it, but it's still going to be a good example of the other pieces. So I just want you to think about how could the process of cementation be added to this model? What could we add to this in order to kind of model that aspect of it? If you have any great ideas, come let me know. I think I might have one. And then in our next once we are done with these rocks, we will be thinking about how we can model magma forming a rock, but we are not going to do that today. And that is all we have for today. So you can get your materials. You can get your, let's see, I think I have a list here. You can get your Jolly Ranchers. Make sure your Jolly Rancher wrappers go in the garbage. You're going to weather your Jolly Ranchers, put them in plastic cups, put one cup on top of the other, make sure you write your name on it, and then ask Miss Klug or put them in the designated place for your class so that your rocks can sit out for a little bit. All right, I truly hope you enjoy making rocks in this lesson. And remember, today is a great day to learn. Happy learning!